Non-herbicide ways you can dig. So Privet, found a web. Privet has fairly shallow roots, which is another reason that they're very effective at growing, because what happens is the roots will form a mat and any nutrients that drop down will get taken up by the privet. So they often also bend underground. So if you just pulled them, they could snap and then just reshoot. A little mattock like this for privets this size, you've only got a few of them. There's a root there. It's taking far too much time. No, it snapped. So you can see it's down under this other root. And even there it snapped off. Anything more than about 5 centimetres under the ground, the tree will probably die. Now to me, I wouldn't be generally taking privets this size because chances are 2/3 of them are going to die before they set seed. But you can actually do them this way, and it is fairly quick to. So you can gradually just work your way through, and you'll get a long way in a long time. If you're wanting to do it in a non-herbicide manner, let's try this one. And it's basically ring barking with a hammer. So you pick a point, 30 centimetres up or so. And you ring bark them. Now, that'll die, but a lot of them will reshoot from the roots. So some of them won't, but a lot of them will. But it is a way you can actually reduce canopy fairly quickly. And so if you wanted to change the environment to make it drier, doing that will give you a fairly good impact fairly quickly. Lopping. So I won't do that one because it's been slightly damaged. Let's go to this one over here. I'll just move this stuff. So these are also ideal sized for lopping. And also I'll show you something here in a minute. Now when you're lopping, you want to make sure that the cut is horizontal. You don't want to cut on an angle, because if you do, there's more chance that poison runs off. Now, it's not always possible to get a horizontal cut. When you do have one that's off centre, just put the poison on much more slowly so it doesn't dribble off. So generally low down. Now I'll talk about creeks in a minute, but areas where you're going to walk, it's better to have them either low like this or high. Because you don't want to be, as these rot, they're going to be forming sharp shards. You don't want to be standing on them or tripping over them. So you want to either see them or walk over them. So here is in an area where there's lots of privet. That one's in the way. So looking down here, it's a multiple trunk. Chances are it's the same plant. Yes, you can see it's joined up down there. So, yep. So this one's hard because I'm at the tip of the loppers. That one was dead. This one's alive. Now, they used to be saying you've got to put the poison on in 5 seconds. You don't.
I've got my paintbrush, I'm ready to go.
Yeah. I'd do all this in one hit, then paint it. So horizontal cut, and horizontal cut. Now what we have here is also one of the few insects that eats privet. So I'll just get the poison on. So dab, dab, and around the edge. That's where the most vascular tissue is, so that's where the poison gets taken up. And I'm not squeezing lots on, so all up there's probably 3 mil on that plant. And having a cap on stops it if there's any spillage. I always just carry them in a pot, just for extra stability. Essentially what you're trying to do is get enough poison in the actual plant to kill the plant. So the bigger the plant is, the more poison it's going to need. If you drill straight in, the poison is going to run out. If you drill straight down, you're only covering the vascular tissue in that very small section. If you drill in and across, you're actually cutting through more of the xylem and phloem. So you've got more veins and arteries for the poison to get taken up. So ideally you have got to start drilling sort of at a straight angle, but then you sort of move it across. About every 10 centimetres on average. So here what I'd probably do is 3 in this main stem and 1 either side here, and that'll be enough. That's probably more than enough to do this plant. And have I got batteries? And also you do it at a point where it's going to be easy to do. So you could do it up there, it's not going to matter because it'll eventually get through. There is some evidence that if you have it below branches, it's better. But effectively, stuff does translocate around most of the plant. Sometimes what you do get in privet is, I've seen privet that are 90% dead. So if you look at it, the whole plant will die except for one strip of live bark. They can compartmentalise. Yeah. So to get in. So I've gone in about a centimetre. Any more than that would be getting into dead tissue. And I just feed it in nice and slow so it gets taken up. I'm not squeezing the bottle, as you can see, just drops are coming out. And so what doing it this way, it takes a bit longer, but you're stopping drips. So you're stopping any chance of it getting out. So you can, the time to take to do this, I just did one demonstration, but I'll do the rest of the holes before I put more herbicide in. And one more here. So that's 1, 2, 3, and two each on the other ones. And when you do multiple ones, you can just do a bit of a dribble and work your way around a couple of times. So the time you get back to the first one, it's already soaked up the poison. There's also cutting with chainsaw, of course. Now, on a creek where it's going to flood, there's a balance. If you drill this next to a creek, what's going to happen in 3 or 4 years' time, or maybe even less, it's going to be dead. A flood could come through and it will get pushed over, and the roots are going to come up and pull up the soil, which then could cause erosion if the flood water's got to get underneath it and behind it. So it's better if you're down close to a creek bank to cut them off because it means that it's never going to be pulled out of the ground and cause erosion. Cutting it low is fine, but if you cut it up a bit higher as well, what it's also going to do is help collect branches and stuff that wash down the hill, so it's going to collect leaf litter in behind it, so it's going to protect the creek bank as well. So generally on creek banks I'll be cutting at about 30 centimetres. So this is just 1% glyphosate, used the standard. And to kill privets this size, and hopefully it's the right spray, quite literally, it's dead, Jim.
That's dead. That's 1%.
That's just a 1% solution. You can see it's moderately wet.
So will that go white and, you know, will that look horribly dead?
No, it'll just go brown. In a week or two, they'll just be sticks. Now, this is not very dense privet seedlings. Often they form a dense carpet. But if you look amongst it, the only other stuff in here is a bit of solanum, some tobacco plants, and some Tradescantia, a young lantana. So there's no collateral damage. If there's anything dies apart from privet, it's going to be other weeds. There's a lot of organic matter on the soil, so look at all that leaf litter. The glyphosate binds to organic matter. So the chance of any runoff from that, I mean, there's probably a tenth or a 50th of a mil of Roundup in that patch. Yeah, so it's very little to begin with, but it would always be bound up. There's also lots of clay in this soil, so it binds to there. So these areas like here are low risk. We're a fair distance away from the creek. And so where you do have, like if you look through there, there's just a sea of seedlings. If you wanted to get this area to regenerate quickly, once the adults are killed, you could actually do a couple of quick sprays through there to exhaust the seed bank, and because you've got all that native ground cover behind, that will migrate in very quickly.